On a starry night, the vibrant atmosphere of the luxury restaurant, Le Chateau Elan, was palpable. Delicate lights twinkled, reflecting on silverware and crystal glasses amidst the sounds of laughter and the clinking of glasses. Leila, a woman of stunning beauty dressed in an elegant black dress, crossed the room with confident strides and a look that showed she knew her worth. Her hair glistened under the soft light, and her smile conveyed nothing less than excellence. Upon reaching her reserved table, Leah was greeted by Ashley, a plain-looking waitress dressed in an impeccable uniform. With a gentle smile, Ashley greeted, "Good evening, madam. May I offer you something to start?" However, upon closer observation of Ashley, Leila recognized something familiar in her features. "Wait a minute, aren't you Ashley, Mrs. Monroe's daughter, the cook from our old school?" Leah asked with an inquisitive tone that barely hid a sarcastic smile. Ashley, slightly taken aback, replied hesitantly, "Yes, it's me, Leila, right from the class of 2004. Leila smiled a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Incredible, from student to waitress. What an interesting path," she said with a tone that clearly oozed condescension. The customers around began to take notice of the conversation. Taking advantage of the involuntary audience, Leila continued, raising her voice for others to hear, "Tell me, Ashley, are you still following in your mother's footsteps? I hope at least here you can avoid burning dishes like she used to at school." Ashley felt her cheeks flush with shame and embarrassment. She tried to maintain her composure, but the humiliation was evident. I do my best, madam. "Can I bring you the wine list?" she replied, trying to change the subject. Leila laughed, a sound that was more cruel than joyful. "Oh, of course, bring the list. But make sure to ask someone who knows about wines for their opinion. We wouldn't want your lack of sophistication to ruin my evening." As Ashley walked away, Leah turned to a nearby table, whispering loud enough to be heard, "Can you believe this? From scholarship student to waitress. Some of us evolve, while others, well, you can see." Discomfort spread among the customers, some exchanging embarrassed glances, others shaking their heads in disapproval. Ashley's humiliation had become a spectacle, an exhibition of cruelty that Leila orchestrated with a mix of arrogance and disdain. While Ashley, the waitress, gracefully moved between tables, balancing plates and offering discreet smiles to customers, Leila watched her with a cunning gaze. The soft light of Le Chateau Elan restaurant reflected in a malicious glint in her eyes as she took her smartphone out of her designer purse. Ashley focused on her work, didn't realize she was being observed. Leila, with a thinly veiled expression of triumph, opened the phone's camera and started taking photos of Ashley in action. With each snap, her smile widened. She watched the screen, selecting the images that best captured Ashley in her waitress role, each one reinforcing the narrative she wanted to convey. "This is going to be too good," Leila muttered to herself, barely able to contain her excitement. With nimble fingers, she opened WhatsApp and found the group of her old schoolmates, which had been relatively inactive until now. As she sent the photos, Leah typed eagerly, "Look who I found, Ashley Monroe, our former classmate, now serving tables. Who would have thought?" followed by laughing emojis. She pressed send and leaned back in her chair, waiting for the reactions. It didn't take long for notifications to start popping up. "Seriously, Ashley? Ha, what a fall, huh?" one former classmate wrote. "Wow, from student to waitress. Some people really can't go very far," commented another, adding fuel to the mockery. With each new message, Leila felt a perverse pleasure. She watched Ashley, now with an even more pronounced look of superiority. "And to think she was one of the brightest scholarship students," Leah said aloud to no one in particular, but loud enough for a few nearby tables to hear. "Truly, life is full of surprises," she continued, savoring every word. Meanwhile, in the WhatsApp group, messages continued to pour in. "Remember that time when Ashley won the science fair? Who would have thought it would end like this?" read one message dripping with irony. Another classmate added, "She was always smart, but I guess intelligence doesn't pay the bills, huh?" The messages not only ridiculed Ashley but also brought back memories from the past, setting the stage for the upcoming 10-year graduation reunion. Some messages mentioned old disagreements, teenage crushes, and school rivalries, reigniting flames of ancient intrigues. Leah watched the turmoil she had stirred up in the group with a satisfied smile. She relished in seeing how her words incited reactions and stirred up memories among her former classmates. To her, it was more than just provocation, it was a way to assert her status and remind everyone of her supposed superiority. Back at the restaurant, Ashley, oblivious to the storm brewing in the virtual world, continued her work with dignity and professionalism. She served customers with a kind smile, unaware that she had become the main topic of discussion in a group that had been dormant in memories of the past. As the night went on, the WhatsApp group buzzed with conversations about the upcoming reunion. "Do you think Ashley will show up at the reunion?" one classmate questioned. "It would be interesting to see where we all ended up after all these years," pondered another. Leila, now even more eager for the reunion, knew that she had set the stage perfectly for an event that promised to be full of surprises and revelations. She finished her meal with a triumphant smile, ignoring the pain she had inflicted and the consequences her actions might bring. "Now, tell me here in the comments, how would you have acted if you were Ashley? And after finding out about the messages on WhatsApp, would you have attended the class reunion? And if Ashley does go, do you think there will be any kind of ridicule from the rest of the group on that night?" Back in the comfort of her luxurious apartment with panoramic views of the illuminated city, Leila settled into her velvet couch as she savored a glass of red wine. Her thoughts wandered, reflecting on Ashley at the restaurant. The soft light from the lamp cast dancing shadows around the room, creating an ambience conducive to introspection. With an ironic smile, Leila began to reminisce about her school days, and one name in particular came to her mind: Clark, the janitor's son, another scholarship student like Ashley. "Clark," she murmured, shaking her head. "I wonder if he ended up like Ashley, in some dead-end job." She grabbed her tablet, typing on social media, searching for any clues about Clark's whereabouts. "Maybe he's an Uber driver or something. It would be hilarious to find him in such a common situation," Leila said aloud, refilling her glass. The memory of Clark was vague but sufficient to fuel her malicious curiosity. "He was always so quiet, so insignificant. I bet he didn't stand out after school," she continued. Leila's apartment was filled with luxury and comfort, but at that moment, it was a stage for her petty thoughts. She delighted in imagining Clark in humble situations similar to Ashley's. These fantasies reflected more about Leila's arrogance and insecurity than the reality of Clark. "Imagine if he also shows up at the reunion," Leila laughed, thinking of the possibility of seeing Clark after so many years. "It would be perfect to see how far I've come compared to him," she thought in her self-congratulatory state. Leila didn't realize the irony of her reflections. She was so absorbed in her assumptions and prejudices that she didn't consider the possibility that Clark's life might have taken a very different path than she imagined. In the comfort of her living room, between sips of wine and arrogant thoughts, Leila was distant from reality, lost in her world of assumptions and contempt. As the date of the school reunion approached, a wave of frenzy took over social media, especially in the dedicated Facebook group for the event. Former students, now transformed into professionals in various fields, shared accomplishments and achievements, turning the group into a showcase of successes. Leila, in her apartment, scrolled through the feed, watching the posts. "Look at this, Michael is now a successful businessman in New York," she commented, speaking to herself as she looked at a picture of Michael in front of an imposing skyscraper. And Jessica, always so average, who would have thought became a renowned engineer, she posted an elegant selfie with the caption, "Can't wait to see everyone at the reunion. The last 10 years have been an incredible journey." The post quickly filled with likes and comments. "You look amazing," Leah wrote, a former classmate. "I always knew you would do great things," praised another. In another corner of the city, in a modest cafe, a group of former classmates gathered. "Did you see what Josh posted? He's become an influential economist in Washington, D.C., one of them said, showing the post on their phone. "And Susan, she opened her own physical therapy clinic," another added, flipping through the pictures. The conversation was a mix of admiration and envy. Everyone seems to be doing so well. I hope the reunion doesn't turn into a competition of who's more successful, when one of them commented, half jokingly, half serious. Oh, but it definitely will, another replied, laughing. You know our group, it's always been about who stands out the most. Back in her apartment, Leila smiled as she read the comments on her post. She felt on top of the world, convinced that her story was one of the most impressive. Determined to reinforce this image, she posted a picture of herself on a recent trip to Europe with the Eiffel Tower in the background. Memories of one of my many adventures, she wrote, adding hashtags like #WorldTraveler and #SuccessfulLife. Meanwhile, behind the virtual scenes, anxiety was growing among the former students. Some expressed concerns about what to wear, others about how to impress old friends. The conversations were a mix of excitement and nervousness. I can't wait to show everyone how much I've changed, one former classmate typed, a successful lawyer who was known for being introverted in school. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone again, but I hope it's not just an ego showcase, another replied, somewhat more skeptical. The group buzzed with plans and expectations. Some talked about how their careers had taken off, while others shared stories of families formed and trips taken. With each new post, anticipation for the reunion grew, fueling a mix of pride and competition. Amidst it all, Leila stood out. She interacted with enthusiasm, responding to comments with grace and charm, always making sure to highlight her own achievements. I can't wait to tell everyone about my new project, she typed in a reply, hinting at yet another success story. The reunion was shaping up to be more than just a celebration of old times, but a stage where each one would seek to assert their place in the world, showing how far they had come since their school days. The competition was implicit but very real, a competition not only of careers and achievements but also of personal narratives and life trajectories. As the date approached, excitement mixed with a dose of anxiety. Everyone wanted to make an impression, reaffirm their identities, or simply reconnect with a past that had somehow shaped who they were today. Lila, in particular, was determined to shine. She planned every detail from the dress she would wear to the story she would tell. This reunion is going to be the confirmation of everything I've achieved, she thought with a confident smile. It's going to be my night. And so, in that whirlwind of expectations and memories, the former students prepared for the reunion, an event that promised to be more than just a simple celebration but a definitive moment of recognition and perhaps surprising revelations. The long-awaited day of the reunion had finally arrived, bringing with it an atmosphere charged with anticipation and excitement. The chosen venue was an elegant ballroom adorned with sophisticated decorations and lighting that cast a golden glow over the surroundings. As the night fell, a parade of luxury cars began to arrive, each making its triumphant entrance into the spotlight-filled parking lot amidst the engine roars and the gleam of headlights. One car in particular drew attention. It was a shiny red convertible with bold design. Approaching with a smooth yet powerful purr, at the wheel Lila displayed a confident smile, her hair blowing in the wind, complementing the image of success and audacity. She parked the car gracefully, attracting admiring glances from those present. Wow, look at Lila, exclaimed a former classmate, impressed. She really knows how to make an entrance. Lila stepped out of the car, tossing her hair back with a theatrical gesture. She wore a dazzling cocktail dress that accentuated her elegant figure, her designer shoes sparkled under the parking lot lights. I always knew she would go far, but this is incredible, commented another former classmate as they watched Lila approach with confident strides. Lila smiled at her fellow alumni, nodding in acknowledgement. It's good to see all of you, she said, her voice exuding charm and self-assurance. It seems like the years have been generous to all of us, well, with almost all of us. The other former students, emerging from their own luxury vehicles, also displayed signs of success and prosperity. Men in well-tailored suits and women in elegant dresses formed a mosaic of ostentation and achievements. The parking lot transformed into an impromptu runway where each one showcased their own version of success. As the former students greeted each other, a mixture of admiration and envy permeated the air. "Did you see Daniel's car? It's a newer model than mine," commented one former classmate, disguising their envy with a smile. "And Samantha, she looks like she hasn't aged a day," observed another, with a tone of surprise and a hint of jealousy. Lila, amidst it all, seemed to be in her element. She strolled among the groups, sharing laughter and hugs, each gesture and word carefully calculated to maximize her impact. "This reunion is going to be unforgettable," she said to one group who enthusiastically agreed. The event, originally planned as a night of celebration and reminiscing, quickly turned into a spectacle of exhibitionism and veiled competition. Expensive cars, designer clothing, and success stories were the currency of the night, and each former student was eager to showcase how much they had progressed. However, amid all the glitz and glamour, there was a clear subtext, a quest not only for recognition but also for validation, a desire to prove to themselves and others that the dreams and aspirations of their youth had been fulfilled. And on this stage of memories and achievements, Lila shone like the star she had always wanted to be. But only time would reveal the truth behind the appearance. At the height of the event, when conversations and laughter reached their climax and former students were immersed in their memories and displays of success, the entrance of an unexpected figure captured everyone's attention. It was Ashley, the same person who had been ridiculed by Lila at the luxury restaurant days before. But this time, she was not dressed as a waitress. Instead, Ashley appeared in an elegant evening gown, radiating confidence and sophistication. Her presence was like a refreshing breeze that subtly changed the dynamics of the room. Conversations gradually ceased as Ashley took the stage with a microphone in hand, her gaze sweeping the room, finding familiar faces, some surprised, others curious. "Good evening, everyone," Ashley began, her voice clear and firm. "Many of you must be wondering what I'm doing here, especially after the photos Lila posted in the group." She paused, looking directly at Lila, who looked back bewildered and somewhat suspicious. "I am Ashley Monroe, and I am pleased to reveal that I am the owner of Le Chateau Elon, the restaurant many of you recently visited." She continued with a serene smile. Murmurs of surprise and admiration spread through the room. That night, I was covering for one of my employees who couldn't make it. "I wanted to make sure everything went smoothly," explained Ashley, her voice filled with pride and dignity. The revelation had an immediate impact. Looks of admiration and shock crossed the room. "Congratulations, Ashley. This is amazing," exclaimed a former classmate, while others nodded in agreement. Ashley's revelation not only surprised everyone but also served as a powerful reminder. One should not judge someone solely based on a momentary scene in their lives. Ashley's story was a testament to the power of determination and hard work, challenging perceptions and expectations of all. After the surprising revelation of being the owner of the renowned Le Chateau Elon, Ashley had yet another surprise in store for her former classmates. With the room already enveloped in an atmosphere of admiration and respect, Ashley took back the microphone to share one more inspiring story. "I know many of you have been wondering about Clark, another one of our scholarship classmates, the one you all speculated would be in the gutter just like me," Ashley began, her calm voice capturing everyone's attention. "So, unfortunately, he couldn't be here with us today, but for a very special reason." She paused dramatically, ensuring she had the audience's full attention. "Clark is now a renowned surgeon, and he's currently attending an international medical conference." The revelation left the room in surprised silence, followed by murmurs of admiration. Many in the room remembered Clark as the quiet son of the janitor, a bright student but often underestimated. "I would have never imagined," whispered a former classmate, visibly impressed. "I always thought he was smart, but this is extraordinary." Leila, who had speculated about Clark's fate with disdain, now found herself at a loss for words. She stared at Ashley, her face a mix of surprise and a touch of shame. Ashley continued, "Clark has dedicated his life to medicine and is making a difference in the world today. He sent me a message wishing everyone a great evening and expressing his regret for not being able to join us." The audience began to applaud, recognizing not only Clark's success, but also the importance of never underestimating someone's potential regardless of their origins. "This really puts things into perspective," commented a former classmate, reflecting aloud. "I think we all underestimated Clark and Ashley." Clark's story, shared by Ashley, was a powerful reminder for everyone in the room. Success comes in many forms and can be achieved through diverse, often unexpected paths. As the reunion came to an end, a sense of camaraderie and reflection had settled among the former classmates. They shared stories, laughed, and reminisced about old times. However, an unexpected twist was still to unfold, centered around Lila, the woman who had captured everyone's attention with her triumphant entrance. "You won't believe what I found out about Lila," whispered a former classmate, almost not believing his own words. He had casually talked to one of the guests who, by coincidence, knew Lee's true story. "Leila actually works as a nanny," he revealed. His words quickly spread among the groups. "As a nanny? But what about the car, the clothes, all that posture?" another asked, surprised. "It was all an act. She came to the reunion in her employer's car. The luxurious life she portrayed on social media, it was all a facade," explained the classmate, still astounded by the discovery. The news spread like wildfire, and soon everyone at the reunion was aware. Lila, realizing that something was wrong, felt the eyes turning towards her with a mixture of surprise and pity. Upon discovering that everyone at the reunion already knew her true story, Lila began, I just wanted to impress all of you," she confessed, her words coming out with difficulty. "I didn't want you to think I hadn't achieved anything after all these years." The silence that followed was filled with emotions. Some felt empathy for Lila, while others felt deceived. "We all have our battles, Leila," said a former classmate, trying to offer some consolation. "You didn't need to create a false story." The revelation about Lila not only shook her image, but also served as a powerful reminder for everyone. Appearances can be deceiving, and the true measure of success goes beyond material possessions. That night, the reunion became more than a celebration of achievements. It became a space for learning and reflection on authenticity and the values that truly matter in life. As the reunion came to a close, a contemplative silence fell upon the former students. The revelations of the night had sparked a palpable shift in the atmosphere. Former classmates, previously immersed in a display of material successes, now reflected on the true measures of success. Conversations about the authenticity of effort and the value of hard work replaced comments about cars and titles. "Ashley and Clark really showed us what it means to be successful," commented one of the former students in awe. "It's not just about what you have, but what you do and how you live your life." Lila, amidst these conversations, seemed particularly affected. The revelation about her real life had been a harsh blow, but also an awakening. "I was so worried about looking successful that I forgot what really matters," she confessed to a small group, her voice choked with emotion. Days after the reunion, driven by a need for redemption, Lila visited Ashley's restaurant. Finding her amidst the elegant ambience she had created herself, Lila approached with hesitation. "Ashley, I'm so sorry for what I did," Lila began, clearly nervous. "I was wrong, and I've learned a lot about humility and sincerity." Ashley, surprised by the visit, listened attentively. "We all make mistakes, Leah," she replied gently. "The important thing is to learn from them and move forward." Ashley's words brought visible relief to Lila. "Thank you, Ashley. I really want to change, to be a better person," Lila said, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Ashley smiled with understanding, her gaze reflecting a mix of compassion and strength. "Change is never easy, but it's always possible," she advised. "Start by being true to yourself, and everything else will find its way." Lila nodded, absorbing Ashley's words. It was clear that this moment was not just about apologizing, it was a step towards personal transformation. "I'll remember that," Leah promised, with newfound determination. They parted with a handshake that sealed not only the end of a painful chapter from the past, but also the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Lila left the restaurant feeling lighter, aware of the changes she needed to make, and Ashley, returning to her restaurant, smiled to herself, satisfied with having helped close a painful chapter from the past and contributing in some way to someone's growth. The story of Lila, Ashley, and Clark served as a reminder for all the former classmates. Life is full of twists and turns, and true success comes from living with authenticity, hard work, and compassion. With this lesson in mind, each went their way, now a little wiser and a little humbler. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.